it's always good to have both, to have something that pushes you away. So literally feel the pain so that you say, I cannot stand it any longer. I have to go. But at the same time, have something that pulls you towards in the right direction. And if you have installed both, then decisions become much easier and change becomes much easier.
Hi, and welcome to Lead Well.
Hi and welcome. And today we will again talk about the different ways we are as people. And today we'll focus on how we make decisions and the different approaches to decision making. And again, I will talk about pairs so that you can see there are extremes. And of course, we all are somewhere on this scale. And there are very few people who are really extremes, but it makes it easier to understand. And it also makes it easier for you to then compare yourself to others. So today I want to focus on how we make decisions, as I said. And decision making is probably one of the more important, when if not most important skills of a leader. And I would say of every person, because we're making a lot of decisions every day. Every day we get up, we already decide that we will get up. We decide that we will open our eyes. All of those are small decisions. And there is this tendency, of course, that we make small decisions and we make larger decisions. And then decision making is such a vast area that I'm sure I will dedicate another episode on that because it's so fascinating how we make decisions and how we deceive ourselves and how we actually we make a fool out of ourselves because we think we make very rational decisions and we don't. But that's not my topic today. My topic today really is, first of all, how much information do you need to make a decision? And there are two types of people, extremes again, as I said. There are those who can make a decision right away. And then there are those who would collect a lot of information before they can make a decision. And especially when you're working in sales, especially when you're buying something, it's interesting. So to me, it often happens that I already made a buying decision and the salesperson is talking and talking and talking, giving me additional criteria, but I already have decided. So in that case, I needed less information than the salesperson wanted to give me. And on the other hand, in some situations when I want to buy something again, I do a lot of research. I go on the web and I do a lot of research and look at all the feedback and look at all the ratings from others so that I can gather enough information to be able to make that decision. And you might already have heard this term, analysis paralysis. So this is to collect more and more and more information without taking a decision. And so everything gets paralyzed. There is no way forward. There is no progression just because you are collecting more and more information instead of just making a decision. That's, by the way, something that I have learned in my job. It takes you much further if you take a decision and then you iterate, and then you make another decision and you iterate. And actually, the agile approach that we're seeing now in everything, so to have a real kind of small step approach, but starting and then iterating and reviewing and enhancing, that is something that is probably based on this idea of not ending up in analysis paralysis, and also in this idea to actually make decisions based on little information, because in a complex environment, you will never ever have all the information you need to make a decision. And so you would get stuck if you would not make the decision already based on little information. Now think about your own decisions. Think about yourself. Are you more taking decisions very quickly based on a few parameters? Or do you want to have a lot of information, a lot of data to base your decision on? Think about it, and maybe you can change your approach and experiment. I'm always a friend of experiments. I could say, okay, this time it's not a very important decision. So this time I train myself to make this decision without having a lot of information. And in another situation where you might already have made a decision, you could say, okay, this time let me wait a little longer and let me collect a few more pieces of information to see whether this will change it. And by the way, based on research, doesn't even matter which decision you take, because at the end, your brain will rationalize every decision you made and will make sure that you know that it was the best possible decision. So this is how our brains are made up. If not, then you probably don't have a great approach to decision making, a good strategy for decision making, because there are a lot of people that are afraid to take decisions because then they're all losing all the other options. By the way, that reminds me of the characteristics that we talked about, optional and structured. Usually optional people, they also want to keep those options, and they have a bit of a difficulty of making a decision, because that would mean that they have to go for one thing and disregard the others. And those very often are also those that are not happy about their decisions. Because what happens there, they make the decision, but they still see all the other options out there. My mother was like that. So when we went out for dinner, she had a hard time deciding. Then she decided for a meal, and the minute she told the waiter what she wanted, she was already unhappy because she would have loved something else. So she made a decision, but then she still saw all the other options. Great decision makers, what they do is they make a decision and they discard everything else right away, and they focus on their decision and they make sure to execute on that. And maybe iterate later on, as we said. But that's a real great strategy for decision making. Observe how you're doing that. How easy is it for you to make a decision? How easy is it for you to actually stick to your decision and disregard all the other options? And you can always revise your decision and make a new one. And even if you don't decide, by the way, that's a decision that you made because you're deciding not to do anything else. Decision made there as well. Now, there is one last thing, one last pairing that I wanted to cover with you. And it's a very important one, as I think, because I come across it almost every single day when I talk to my coaches. And this is the away from and the towards. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. When we make a decision, when a person needs to change, when a person wants to change, whenever there is change involved, there literally are only two reasons why we change. And I might have covered that before because I love this fact. We either change because we cannot stand the situation as is, so we change away from the current situation, or we have a dream, we have a vision, we have something that actually pulls us towards a new goal. And if you think about it, those are the only two reasons. Of course, sometimes it's an either or, especially, again, I had a conversation today with one of my coaches. She's like, Christine, I have been in this company for 17 years. I cannot stand it anymore. I have to change. I need to change. Now you will tell me, of course, this is an away from. So she wants to change away from the current situation. If you think about it, however, changing away from, making a decision away from, is like running away from a burning house because I cannot stay there. I have to go out. My pain is so big that I have to go out. Now, when you're running out of a burning building, where are you running to? Doesn't matter. You're running away, and wherever is better than in this burning building. Now, when you think about your life, and especially when I talk about my leadership coaches and the fact that they want to improve their work life, they want to improve their work life harmony, as I would call it, rather than work life balance, because I don't think it's a real balance. It should be harmonious together. They want to go somewhere where it's better than before. But if they're just running away, the probability to end up somewhere where it's really better, it's really small. Now, when we work together, what we do is actually make them understand that there is something better. And I make them see this, what's better there. I make them perceive their vision, their goal, even if they don't have a very specific idea of what they're doing, but sure, they know how they would want to feel when they're in this new situation. And so this is to install something that they can work towards. Disregarding of how bad the current situation is, I want to have something to work towards so that I have a goal, I have a vision, I know where to go. Even when I'm running out of this building, I want to know where to go. I want to know where the best place is. And this to me is really important work. So if you are in a situation where you want to change and you feel there is too much pain for you, then I would want you to turn around. Instead of looking back at the pain that you experience, turn around and look into your future and actually think about all the things that you would love to have, that you would want to work towards, that you would want to experience once you're there. Because that will give you your North Star. That will give you your guideline of where to look, especially when you're looking for a new job. This is where you can start then looking for companies that are providing this environment for you. So if you have the tendency to only change when you cannot stand it anymore, then it's a good idea to start working on your vision, on your goals, because that will give you the right direction. And to then make you change, to give you this little nudge to make the next step. It's always good to have both, to have something that pushes you away, so literally feel the pain, so that you say, I cannot stand it any longer, I have to go, but at the same time have something that pulls you towards in the right direction. And if you have installed both, then decisions become much easier and change becomes much easier. And yeah, it's just so much nicer to go in the direction that will get you where you want to be. Talking about the decisions, we said that there are people who take decisions based on very little information versus very much information. Again, think about it, compare yourself to others, and see whether you can play with that. And then think about it the away from and the towards structure. And again, having both is ideal. Having only the away from is usually not getting you in the best possible direction. Oh, that was it again for today. May you always lead well yourself and others, and may you better understand yourself and others. Thank you for now.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.